possible that it is sure that all of the part that will be spoken about to be centered around Chagas disease. Okay, so now you can begin to activate your background knowledge, okay, in a similar way on how you would do in relation to Zika virus. So you hear Zika virus, you're already trying to understand, okay, what are you talking about? Chagas disease, Zika virus. So I have a bit of an idea about this, okay, but then I'm still going to listen closely. But at least you already know what the topic sentence regarding the audio is talking about. That this audio you want to listen to from 1 to 6 of the first 1 to 12 of your listening part C is talking about Chagas disease. Okay, so you must understand what the meat of the matter is regarding, okay, the topic of your listening part C. So for here now, for example, we're listening to Chagas disease. Okay, so now remember I said that OET listening part C usually have 2 extracts. Okay, you have the first 1 to 6, and then you have the second 1 to 6, which makes it 12. Now, one thing you must note is that for candidates that are very smart, it's good for you to use the interview questions as a guide. So as I said, sometimes you might have just one person running a commentary throughout, okay, the listening part C, or you might have it like an interview session. So you might hear someone interviewing someone and the person has to respond. Okay, so they will either be in the form of a presentation, as I said.
Extract 1, questions 31 to 36. You hear an interview with a cardiologist called Dr.
Unwell following a vacation in a region where Chagas is endemic. Tests indicated she was Chagas positive. Jennifer was then referred to my clinic where we do further tests. Meanwhile, she looked up Chagas online and understandably was distressed by what she read. "Why me?" she once said to me. She was also fearful about taking benznidazole, the main drug used for Chagas, because it has potentially harmful side effects. For optimum impact, it should be taken in the first 2 months of the disease, but by the time the testing had been completed, 10 weeks had passed since the likely date of the bite. For information, Jennifer took benznidazole and didn't react badly to it.
And do you deal with patients in later?
Okay, did we get that? We get the audio? And can we drop our answers if got that? Okay, Tosin, I'll drop the answer. Let's get more responses. I will still say the audio again. Okay, so but I just want to see whether we got it or whether it was clear. All right, so Dr. Adeshina, thank you for your response. All right, if I can get 1 or 2 more, then I will read it from my own mouth. Probably it's not clear from your own end. I can understand the network can be bad. All right.
What is your account? What's your account?
All right. So let me read what Dr. Jack Robson's response was for this. Okay. Thank you, Ifoma. Thank you. All right, so let me read what Dr. Jackson's response here was. Now, he was talking about Jennifer, so let me just recap the audio. So he said, well, another patient, I'll call her Jennifer, felt unwell following a vacation in a region where Chagas is endemic. Test indicated she was Chagas positive. Jennifer was then referred to my clinic where we do further tests. Meanwhile, she looked up Chagas online and understandably was distressed by what she read. "Why me?" she once said to me. She was also so fearful about taking benznidazole, the main drug for Chagas, because it has potentially harmful side effects. For optimum impact, it should be taken in the first 2 months of the disease. Now look at the word "but," okay, very key word. But by the time the testing has been completed, 10 weeks had passed since the likely date of the bite. Meaning that by the time she completed her medication, 10 weeks has passed. So there was already a delay, okay? So that's already signifying delay. For information, Jennifer took benznidazole and didn't react badly to it. So she completed her benznidazole medication. 10 weeks had passed since the likely date of the bite. So from the date of the bite to when she took benznidazole, it took 10 weeks before she could complete her medication. All right, so there is a delay because normally they said it should be taken in the first 2 months. of the disease. But by the time the testing has been completed, 10 weeks have passed. So there is a delay somewhere. Okay. So that makes our answer to be C. Okay. All right. So let's look at the next one, 35. We'll stop at 36. Okay. We'll stop at 36. So we can get that. So let's look at 35 and call it a wrap. Okay. So
In treating Chagas.
Well, another patient, I'll call her Jennifer, felt unwell following a vacation in a region where this is endemic. Tests indicated she was Chagas positive. Jennifer was then referred to my clinic where we do further tests.
this is still for question 35. I want us to listen to it again if you didn't listen to it properly. No, question 34, sorry. Okay, so we're still going to 35, but what I read was 34. All right, so let's listen to 34 before we go to 35. So I don't want to break the transmission here.
Meanwhile, she looked up Chagas online and understandably was distressed by what she read. Why me? She once said to me. She was also fearful about taking benzonidazole, the main drug used for Chagas, because it has potentially harmful side effects. For optimum impact, it should be taken in the first 2 months of the disease, but by the time the testing had been completed, 10 weeks had passed since the likely date of the bite. For information, Jennifer took benzonidazole and didn't react badly to it.
And do you deal with...
Okay, so we're moving to the next one. We're moving to question 35. So you can see the interviewer has already switched. Okay, so we are going to 35. So as I said, if you get an interviewer kind of question, which you will get a good number of times, you see that whenever there's a switch or whether there's the interviewer is moving to the next, okay, you will know that you're moving to the next question. So let's listen to the audio for 35.
Patients in later stages of the illness.
Yes, I have a 62-year-old patient called Juan. 8 years ago, he was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, and Chagas was also detected in him. If he'd been tested for Chagas earlier in his life, his long-term prospects would have been better. A year after the diagnosis, Juan was found to have type 2 diabetes. This was dealt with relatively well, though his body did initially reject insulin. Juan took drugs for his heart and for several years was reasonably stable, but eventually monitoring revealed severe cardiac deterioration. His experience is very much what you'd expect in someone who's had the disease for years, and it's reached the latter stages. There's no cure, and the main recommendations are rest, exercise, and appropriate diet.
I see.
So what do you think is the answer? Okay, I will read it with my mouth. So probably it's not clear. So I'll read it with my mouth here. All right. So let me read this. Okay. Now, this is about one. Okay. So this is the question here. The interviewer said, and how do you deal with patients in the later stages of the illness? That's the question the interviewer asked Dr. Jack Robson. So Dr. Jack Robson's response was this. Yes, I have a 62-year-old patient named called Juan. 8 years ago, he was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, and Chagas was also detected in him. If he had been tested for Chagas earlier in his life, his long-term prospect would have been better. A year after the diagnosis, Juan was found to have type 2 diabetes. This was dealt with relatively well, although his body did initially reject insulin. Juan took drugs for his heart and for several years was reasonably stable. But eventually, monitoring revealed severe cardiac deterioration. His experience is very much what you expect in someone who has had the disease for years and it's reached the later stages. There is no cure, and the main recommendation are rest, exercise, and appropriate diet. So what is our answer? I'm getting two answers here. I'm getting C and A. So let me go back to share my screen. C and A.
It's A. We can see your screen.
Okay.
We can see your screen.
All right.
It's A.
Okay. A. Okay. So we said A. Who is speaking, please? Sorry. I don't know who's speaking.
Ade, Dr. Adelala.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ade. So why do you pick A, please?
He said that I got to hear very well from your own reading because it wasn't clear that his condition is expected
Okay.
because it was detected late. So it's synonymous to saying that the development of his illness was typical of people with Chagas.
Okay, thank you so much. Who
That
agrees
is what
with
is expected.
Okay.
That there's no cure.
Right. All right. That's good. Thank you, Dr. Ade. So who agrees with him or who has a contradictory answer? Dr. Adesina or Olushola, you said C. I would like to get your response on that. You see, have Dr. Adesina on the call?
Well, the reason why I picked C, I was thinking that maybe the complication that he has maybe was not properly treated due to, because maybe it was not properly diagnosed initially. And maybe the medication they gave him, based on those two conditions, make it to be ineffective. That's what I was thinking that made me to pick C.
Well, you're not wrong if you look at it, but however, as I did the audio again orally with my mouth, you understand that the issue was not that the medication he took was largely effective. That was not the issue. Okay?
Is it incorrect diagnosis?
You said? Who is speaking, please? Hello, someone is saying something.
He made mention of that the diagnosis was wrong, and that's what made the condition to worsen.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Francisca. Right. So, okay. Yeah. Thank you. So now, however, the answer is A. So, Francisca, I would debunk your answer of saying an incorrect initial diagnosis resulted in they didn't have a wrong diagnosis. Okay. So let me read what I said. So probably you'll get that now. See what I said. Listen again. Listen to it. 8 years ago, I have a 62-year-old patient named Juan. 8 years ago, he was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, and Chagas was also detected in him. Listen to the caveat. They said, if he had been tested for Chagas earlier in his life, it means that they found out Chagas, but it was late. His long-term prospects would have been better. So, Francisca, do you get that now?
Yeah.
So it's not that they had
It's not incorrect, but it was delayed.
Exactly. So it's not as if. So the issue, what do you think could now be your answer here? So what do you think will be your answer there now? All right, so let me continue to read so that you see where I got the answer, where the answer was gotten. All right, so they said a year later after the diagnosis, Juan was found to have had type 2 diabetes. This was dealt with relatively well, though the body did initially reject insulin. Okay, Juan took drugs for his heart and for several years was reasonably stable, but eventually monitoring revealed severe cardiac deterioration. Now look at this word now. His experience, that the experience of him having Chagas disease. Now listen, his experience is very much what you expect in someone who's had the disease for years and it has reached the later stage. So it's a normal, common thing that can happen. There is no cure, and the main recommendation are rest, diet, and stuff. Okay, so it's normal. They said they said him having his experience is something that is normal with people that have Chagas. That's what they said in the audio. So if you look at the answers now, which one do you think best fits? A, right? That the development of this Chagas, which is the illness here, is typical of people with Chagas disease. Do you get that? Okay, is it clear? I want to get your responses, please.
It's clear.
All right, it's clear. All right, because I'm going to give, after this, I'm going to give an audio, an assignment Okay, and I'm going to post it on the group. That's for the remaining 37 to 42, which is the remaining 6 after this 36. And then I want us to listen. Please, it will be best for us not to repeat the audio. I know nobody is there to watch you, but it will be best for us to just, what we just hear, just submit the answer like that on the group. Repeating the audio, you know you will never get that in the exam hall, and it will not help you to assess yourself properly. And this time, it's not issue of network is bad, I can't hear what the instructor is saying, I'm having issues, it's cracking. No, it's you and the audio. Okay, so there will not be much issues or interference with what you need to know. So I'll play the last one, and then we'll look at calling it a day. All right, so let me
Part C.
In treating Chagas.
Well, another patient, I'll call her Jennifer, felt unwell following a vacation in a region where Chagas is endemic. In cardiomyopathy, and Chagas was also detected in him. If he'd been tested for...
So this tip for 35. I want us to listen again before we move to 36. All right.
Chagas earlier in his life, his long-term prospects would have been better. A year after the diagnosis, Juan was found to have type 2 diabetes. This was dealt with relatively well, though his body did initially reject insulin. Juan took drugs for his heart and for several years was reasonably stable, but eventually monitoring revealed severe cardiac deterioration. His experience is very much what you'd expect in someone who's had the disease for years, and it's reached the latter stages. There's no cure, and the main recommendations are rest, exercise, and appropriate diet.
I see. And
Into question 36, you can see that she has ended that, and then she's moving to question 36. So let's listen with rapt attention, and then I'll appreciate your answers on the group chat. Thank you.
can be done to combat Chagas generally?
Plenty. Researchers are working on improved drugs to treat it and a vaccine. None currently exists, but it takes at least 10 years to supply a new drug. Another idea is to develop the existing drugs in tablets of different sizes. That could and should be done almost overnight. What's currently available is designed for adults, even though infants often have the disease. There are also some very important programs using insecticides and other methods to wipe out the bugs that transfer Chagas to humans, but initiatives like those take decades rather than years.
Well, Dr. speaking to us today.
All right. So do we hear that? What do you think is the answer? That was pretty straightforward.
Is B.
Okay. B. Let me get answers. Francisca said B. Okay. All right. More responses, please. Tosin, thank you. Okay. We have like 11 participants. We're just having like 5 people participating. I know that everybody will not want to write. I'm not going to castigate anybody. Okay. We're all learning. So I've gotten 3 responses. If you still want to drop yours, please drop. I've not said the answer yet. All right. So I've gotten 3 responses. I need more, I need more, I need more, I need more. So that we can call it a night. This is already 9:30. We should be wrapping up. So thank you, Dr. Deshina, for your response. Who again? Okay. All right. So the answer is B. Okay. The answer is B. Produce medication in form that is suitable for children. I'll read. For those that didn't get, maybe the audio too wasn't very good. All right, so let me read. So the interviewer said, what can be done to combat Chagas generally? So Dr. Jack Robson said, plenty. Researchers are working on improved drugs to treat it, and a vaccine none currently exists. But it takes at least 10 years. Remember, the question was short time, short time, short time. So as I said, you should underline that and have it at the back of your head when you're listening. At least 10 years to supply a new drugs. Another idea is to develop the existing drugs in tablets of different sizes. That could and should be done almost overnight. So this is short term. When they say overnight, it's something that can be achieved quickly. What's currently available is designed for adults, even though infants often have the disease. So infants are children, right? So infants have the disease, but then what's available is for adults. But then this can be done overnight. There are also some very important programs such as using insecticides and other methods to wipe out the bugs that transfer Chagas to human. but initiatives like those take decades rather than years. Okay? All right. Let me resume share. And then share my screen. Okay. All right, so I'll conclude with this. Okay, I'll conclude with this. Now, one of the third tip, okay, that I didn't mention here was that, as I said, sometimes you might not have an interviewer based, okay, you might not have an interviewer based kind of question. So you might not know when the interviewer, or when the, sorry, not the interviewer, when the person that is running the commentary, as I said, you can have a commentary type, okay, or you can have the interviewer based. So if it's the one that the person is just running a commentary or doing his presentation, there's nobody interviewing him or her, it might be difficult for you to know when the person has switched to the next question. So what's important for you to look out for is what we call signposting language, okay? The signposting language should be what candidates should look out for, and I'll explain what it means. Now, let's look at this. So if you're listening to the presentation rather to the interview, then you need to listen out for signposting language as your guide, okay? Signposting language is a language which indicates the beginning of a new idea. So signposting language states the beginning of a new idea or ends an old idea. So what it just means here is that if you listen or you know a signpost language, it tells you that the old discussion has ended. We have moved to the second part of the discussion, which could be the next question. All right. So it helps to organize longer stretches of speech, right? This is doable by using sequences such as, so sometimes you might hear them in the audio for listening part C saying things like, first, I would like to ensure that the insecticides are made available to kill the Chagas disease and blah, 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 blah. Now, you now hear second. So when you hear second, first, all these are signpost language. When you hear second, it means that they are moving to the next question. You can have that idea. Okay, so that's like signpost language. Signpost language indicates the end of an old idea and the beginning of a new idea. So second, you know they are going to the next question. Or you might have things like now. Okay, so you might hear something like, before we used to ensure that anti-malarials are provided to people in the creeks and then to people in the prisons and stuff like that. Then if you want to see that the person has moved to another question, you can hear something like, so now we have made vaccine available. Now, that word now is a signpost language and indicates that you have moved to the next question, okay? Another kind of signpost language is so. This is what I'm saying is that you hear this in your assignment I'm going to give, okay? I'm not going to play that, okay? But then you will not get an interviewer based. You get a commentary or a presentation. So you hear words like noun, so, first, second, you know that you're moving to the next, okay? To the next topic, or there's a change of topic or a development of a new idea. Okay, so for example, let's listen to this now. Here's an example of the presentation type OET. Okay, I'm already giving you expo already. So this is what you hear, Sha. You hear an occupational therapist called Anna Matthews giving a talk to a group of people, trainee doctors. Now look at this. Now, for this, there will not be any interviewer. So you will not know whether the interviewer has moved to the next question or not to break up the question. But if you look at how the speaker begins or changes his or her ideas, you will be guided. Now let's look at this. Near the beginning of the presentation, you hear something like this first. Now let's look at this. This is first. Let's think about what we understand by occupational therapy. Very hopefully, this relates to the focus of the first question, which is Anna says that the main focus on her work is blah, 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 blah. Now, see when Anna is going to switch. The speaker then shows that she's moving to the next idea. How do we know she's moving to the next idea? She's going to use a signposting language. What's that signposting language? Now, look at this one. Now, onto my case study. She has moved. Okay, now onto my case study. There's a signpost language. Okay, so she's moving to the next question. So now onto my case study. It involves a patient called blah, 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 blah. All right, now look at the other one. The next question in the exam is, meanwhile, when Anna first met the patient called Tess, she was, now look at the signpost language. Okay, so you can see that you are seeing signpost language. Now is a signpost language. So is a signpost language. So anything that indicates a movement to a new idea, okay, would indicate that the question has gone to the next one, and then you need to focus on that. But as I said, when they are given 90 seconds to look at your question, it's important for you to underline those key things, okay? When you underline those key things and you are listening to the audio, it helps you to be quick to pick your answers. And then you're not in a dilemma and they are not too confused about what to pick in your listening part C. So I advise you to listen to more of listening part C. People have asked what certain texts are important. There are certain YouTube videos that are important, okay, that you can listen to that will help you. I'll share that on the group too. If you have podcasts and you have the time, do that. But I'll just advise you practice till you become better at it. All right. So listen to podcasts, listen to interviews, listen to audios. JShan audio is good. Okay, that's fine. There are also audios on YouTube. There's one that is very good. I'm going to share that on both pages of Excel OET Academy. For those that are not in the academy, of course, I will still share it on the page where you got the link. So don't be bothered. And then if you have questions or you want to join the academy, you can just send me a message if you're interested. So if you have any questions regarding listening part C, you can ask your questions. And then I'll mention the recording will be shared on the group. Okay, so that will also be made available. Right? It will be shared on our YouTube link. Sorry, we'll have a YouTube link. So you will get the link and then you'll be able to watch the video for those that still want to watch it again and for those that didn't join and think that they will benefit. And lastly, the assignment will be shared on the group. Right, so get ready for the assignment. So just answer the assignment. I'll give you the number of minutes or the number of so till the audio is done, you should submit your assignment. No need to replay again. Okay, replay means that you've cheated and then you want to get everything 100. It's possible to get 100 at one listen, okay, but then listening to it over again means that you are cheating the system. So it's important that you just submit your answers as soon as you're done. All right. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, and then I would respond. Yeah, because we're almost done. We just have less than 5 minutes to the end of this class. All right. So in the absence of questions, I will call it a day for today. Thank you all for joining the listening party from Excel OET Academy. For those that are having their exams this week, we wish you all the best. And to those that will be having their exam this month, we also wish you all the very best. If you have any other questions, you can chat me up privately on the Telegram page or on the WhatsApp platform, and I'm ready to listen to your concerns. Thank you very much and have a wonderful night rest. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone, and have a wonderful night rest. Yeah, bye.